home from Mass and asked his father, "Dad, what does it mean when the priest says, 'Lift up your hearts'?" His father said, "Well, it means we should focus on God in heaven." The boy thought about it for a second and then asked, "So, does that mean I'm not supposed to be thinking about baseball during Mass?" His father said, "Probably not." And the boy replied, "Okay, then I guess I have a lot of lifting to do." Honestly, that is probably true for all of us, because we know how easy it is to get distracted, how easy it is to become focused on only earthly things. Schedules, bills, stress, sports, politics, frustrations, and all the worries that pull at each of us every single day. And that is why today's Feast of the Ascension is so important. The Ascension lifts our eyes upward, and it reminds us that this world is not all that there is. But at the same time, it sends us back into the world with a calling. Imagine the scene from the first reading. The apostles are standing there watching Jesus ascend into heaven. And honestly, who could blame them for staring? They walked with him for years. They watched him heal the sick, calm storms, forgive sins, suffer on the cross, and rise from the dead. And now he is taken up before them. The apostles stand there looking upward. And then the angels say something almost humorous. "Men of Galilee, why are you standing there looking up at the sky?" In other words, don't just stand there, you have work to do. The Ascension is not simply about Jesus leaving, it is about Christ taking his throne. As St. Paul tells us, the Father has seated Christ at his right hand in the heavens, far above every principality, authority, power, and dominion. The Ascension is not Jesus retreating from the world. It is Christ reigning over heaven and earth. Heaven is not simply a distant place somewhere beyond the clouds. Heaven is eternal communion with God. And in the Ascension, Jesus opens up that communion to us. From his throne, Christ now sends his church into the world. The church does not invent her calling. She receives it from Christ himself. In the gospel, Jesus gives the apostles what we call the Great Commission. Go, therefore, and make disciples of all nations. We hear an echo of that command at the end of every Mass. Go. Go, teach, baptize, witness, bring the gospel to the world. And if we are honest, that probably sounded impossible to the apostles. These were ordinary men, fishermen, tax collectors, men who had doubted and failed and even run away during Christ's passion. And yet, Jesus entrusts his work to them. Why? Because the church has never depended on human perfection. It depends on the power of Christ. And that is why Jesus ends with this promise: I am with you always until the end of the age. And that, my friends, may be the most important line in the gospel today. Because at first, the Ascension can feel like Jesus is leaving, but he is not abandoning his people. He remains present through the Holy Spirit, through his church, through the scriptures and sacraments, and most profoundly in the Holy Eucharist. And in just days, at Pentecost, Christ will pour out the Holy Spirit upon his church, strengthening the apostles to begin the work that he has entrusted to them. My brothers and sisters, sometimes we hear this gospel and think, well, that work belongs to missionaries, to priests, or to religious sisters. Not true. Every baptized Christian shares in it. Think about it. Parents evangelize their children. Grandparents witness through faithful prayer. Students witness through integrity. Workers witness through honesty and kindness. Most of the time, Christian witness happens in ordinary daily life. And sometimes that can feel intimidating because we know our weaknesses and our fears. We know how far we still must grow. But remember, the apostles were not superheroes. Peter denied Jesus. Thomas doubted. And the others fled. And still, Christ chose them. Not because they were perfect, but because they were willing to follow him. That should give us all hope. Today's Feast of the Ascension reminds us to see our lives differently. Not to escape the world, but to live in the world differently. St. Paul prays that the eyes of your hearts may be enlightened. And that is a beautiful phrase, because faith changes how we see everything. We begin to see that success is not the same thing as holiness, that forgiveness matters more than winning arguments, that heaven is not fantasy, but reality, and that truth matters deeply because every earthly success eventually fades. Possessions wear out, accomplishments are forgotten, even our lives in this world are temporary. If heaven is not our destiny, nothing in this world will ever satisfy the human heart. But Jesus has ascended to the Father to open heaven for us. Our final home is with him. And that changes how we live now. Our calling as disciples is often lived in small moments. Patience with a difficult person. Choosing honesty when lying would be so much easier. Praying when we feel distracted. Forgiving when resentment feels justified. And encouraging someone who is struggling. Those moments matter. That is how the gospel spreads, one faithful witness at a time. And we are never doing it alone. Jesus promises, I am with you always. Not only when life is easy, not only when faith feels strong, always. In just a few moments, we will come forward to receive the Eucharist. The risen and ascended Christ will come to us. The one seated at the right hand of the Father is still close to his people, still guiding, still strengthening, and still sending. And maybe that little boy's question is the perfect for us today. What am I lifting my heart toward? Only earthly things or towards Christ? Because hearts fixed only on this world will never rest. But hearts fixed on Christ begin to see everything else rightly. So today, as we celebrate the Ascension, perhaps our prayer can simply be, Lord, lift up my heart. Help me trust that you are with me. Help me to go and live the calling you have given me. And help me keep my eyes fixed on heaven while serving you here on earth.